those folks then, they had to develop a thriving subculture in Babylon and Persia if they were to survive. And we're going to have to do the same, in my view. As we see the coasts closing in, when you go visit places that you had visited 20 years before, and the entire population is now brown and black, and the people were walking around muttering strange languages because you've been to New Jersey, and it's not the New Jersey you remember. Been to California, not the California you remember from 20 years ago. Been to Florida, it's not the Florida you remember. Same in Texas, same in 20 of our 50 states probably, isn't it? And it's creeping inward. And you know what? As it creeps inward, we're placed pretty nicely.
We are.
In God's providence, hey, Missouri and Kansas and Oklahoma, that look pretty good.
Yeah.
pretty doggone good. And guess what? There are people a lot like us coming from New Jersey and California. And they're fleeing. They're like those Babylonians, they're like the Judeans in the second and third wave who had to leave Judea and are arriving in a new place confused and demoralized. And there's people that we know that are a bit like us. And they're arriving from places like San Jose or wherever it is. Jacksonville, Florida, wherever. They're leaving those places. They're arriving in Missouri and places like that. And they're looking at little communities like this. They flood through here all the time. Their names appear. Pop up in the church office. You encounter a few of them from time to time. They need help. They need wisdom. They need encouragement. They have some sense things aren't right. They haven't got all the pieces put together. They need someone who's there that's already rooted. That can be generous in heart enough to say, let me give you a helping hand. Maybe I can give you some advice or encouragement. You can become rooted here as well. And you don't have to struggle. So those of us that have already been rerouted and transplanted in the Midwest, more of us are going to follow us out of the coasts. And now the next 15 or 20 years is going to look just like the last 15 or 20, most likely, except probably more. More of the same. Bigger doses. Now, are we preparing the way for them? Jeremiah 46. In Jeremiah 46, we turn there, and I don't want to belabor on this point, but I'll just throw it out on the table. I have a strong patriotic spirit, but I have a strong practical streak too. And I'm going to read for you Jeremiah 46, verse 28. And this is the practical part of it. Fear not, thou, O Jacob, my servant, saith the Lord, I am with thee. For I will make a full end of the nations whither I have driven thee. But I will not make a full end of thee, but correct thee in measure. Yet will I not leave thee wholly unpunished. Amen. Right, so I don't think the United States is going to suddenly disappear, but it will disappear at some point. I don't think it's going to explode. I don't think it's going to dissolve into a civil war. People are too apathetic for a civil war. You've got to have some oomph behind you. I think it's going to gradually transform itself into a giant, overgrown, muddled Brazil. And we're simply going to enter into decline, and gradually lose our identity as a nation. But that doesn't mean we need to lose our identity as individuals or as families or as a community. Amen. We can do what the Judeans had to do when they followed Daniel. In wave 2 and 3, and were plopped down in a foreign place that they didn't care for. We have to collect ourselves into communities of faith to maintain our identity and our faith. And then we have to reroot ourselves. For those of you that already have some roots, what do you have to offer those that come here who might possibly join us? Perhaps God is bringing, what are you doing to help them reroot themselves when God brings them across the scene of your life? Finally, section 3. Let's go back to the book of Daniel. Daniel, and we're going to look at the last portion of this chapter. We'll start in verse 17, and I'd like you to follow me. I'll read verse 17, you read 18, and carry on that way. So we're in Daniel chapter 1, beginning at verse number 17. Shall we read together? As for these 4 children, God gave them knowledge and skill in all learning and wisdom. And Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams.
Now at the end of the days that the king had said he would bring them in, then the prince of the eunuchs brought them in before Nebuchadnezzar.
And the king communed with them. And among them all was found none like Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Therefore stood they before the king.
And in all matters of wisdom and understanding that the king inquired of them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and astrologers that were in all his realm.
All right, let's look at the new qualities now. Let's look at the new Daniel. Now, I see 4 new qualities that Daniel was compelled to develop, and I suppose his companions as well. The first one, he was emotionally tough. Now, in my view, if you can survive what Daniel did and come out with a halfway respectable attitude, you have got to be emotionally strong.
Amen.
And we have to develop emotional strength.
Hallelujah.
Emotional stability. We can't be looking for crutches emotionally.
Amen.
The world looks to alcohol for emotional crutch. They look to drugs for emotional crutch. They look to prescription drugs or whatever. There's all kinds of things that they look to. We must not look to those. We must look to our God in heaven. We must look to the Bible. We must learn to master our emotions so our emotions don't run away like wild horses, carrying us off in wild directions. We have to be emotionally tough. Number 2, Daniel was of recognized knowledge and skill. He brought the knowledge that the Hebrew culture had, and he mastered and married that to the knowledge of the Babylonian culture. So what's that? What are you talking about? Very quickly. The Hebrew culture was the most literate culture in the ancient world, from what I can learn. More people could read and write in the Hebrew culture than any other ancient society. They were a literate society. They were a society of knowledge of words, literature, poetry. They were people of words and of writing. Babylon was a world that had unique knowledge and skill in mathematics and science. How many degrees in a circle? 360. Who did I give him that idea? Well, it came from the Babylonians. And there's many other things that come to us today from the Babylonians in the realm of mathematics and science. Daniel married these 2 together. Now, he had the wisdom of God, and he had this enormous literary and godly tradition that gave us an insight into human nature and an insight into God's ways. And he married it with the practical skills of the natural world that the Babylonians had, and enabled them to do many wonderful things, building these giant ziggurats, building these other things that they did. That's why he turned out wiser and better. He had the best of both